In this lesson, we're going to go over loan payments, credit cards, and mortgages, just the light stuff. Okay, so specifically what we'll do is we'll discuss terms related to loans and we'll learn to apply the monthly payment formula. This lesson will be split into two, where in this first part we'll deal with loan payments and credit cards, and in the second part we'll deal with home mortgages. So first, some terminology. So principal is the amount of money owed at any particular time when we're dealing with the monthly payment amount. When you take out a loan, the starting principal is how much you're borrowing, and then after that, as you pay down the loan, that principal amount will change as you're paying it off. An installment loan or amortized loan is a loan that is paid off with equal regular payments. So what an installment loan does is it uses how much you're borrowing and the interest on how much you're borrowing and splits it up over whatever your loan term is, which is how long you have to pay back the loan in full. With an installment loan, you have monthly payments that are the same. And with this, when your payments first start, you're paying off more interest with your payment than the principal. And as the life of the loan goes on, you end up paying more of the principal than the interest. Okay. So the loan payment formula, this formula will be given to you on an exam. PMT is P times APR over N divided by 1 minus parentheses 1 plus APR over N to the negative NY. So PMT is your payment amount and it depends on N. So in this, we're mostly going to be talking about monthly payments. So this is how we'll calculate monthly payments. But if you were making quarterly payments, N would be 3, and then your payment calculator would be quarterly. Okay. P is your principal, APR is your annual percentage rate as a decimal, N is the number of compounds or payments per year. So if you're paying once a month, N would be 12, and Y is the number of years. I've also got the formula on the board behind me. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to put these in your calculator, more so if you have the Texas Instruments than the Casio. Okay. So example 1, student loans. So this problem has 4 parts. I'll give you the problem and then we'll do each part separately. Suppose you have students loan totaling $7,500 when you graduate from college. The APR is 9% and the loan term is 10 years. So we're going to calculate the monthly payment amount, how much you'll pay over the life of the loan, what is the total interest you'll end up paying over the life of the loan, and taking a look at of the total amount paid, what percentage went towards the principal and what percentage went towards the interest. So first of all, what are your monthly payments? So here we're going to round to the nearest cent. One thing in the homework system is to pay attention to what you round everything to. It'll sometimes have you round like certain values to 6 decimal places as you're working and then round the final result to 2. So in order to calculate the monthly payments, we're going to use the formula. I should have put it on every slide. Okay, as you're taking notes, make sure you write this formula down because I won't always have room to write it, unfortunately. Okay, so in this case, P is 7,500. APR as a decimal is 0.09. The loan term is 10 years. And on student loans, you typically make monthly payments. So N is equal to 12. Okay. So to set this up, we're going to have PMT is equal to 7,500 times 0.09 over 12 divided by 1 minus 1 plus 0.09 over 12 to the negative NY. So negative 12 times 10 and close your parentheses. So this is what your formula should look like. On an exam, I will be looking for this to see if you got this part correct or not. And then from here, it's a matter of plugging it into your calculator. If you have the Texas Instruments calculator, I'm going to write a couple of things in green. First of all, when you put this in, I would add extra parentheses for your numerator. Since the calculator doesn't have very many lines, you have to tell the calculator what the entire numerator is, and the way to do that is by these green parentheses. And then I would also multiply this out to be negative 120 so that you're not entering the exponent in incorrectly. Okay, so first I'm going to do this problem on the Casio. I hope the calculators are showing up on the screen. So you would hit the calculator button on the Casio, and it gives you a numerator and denominator. And so you can plug it in if you're using the Casio without the without the green parentheses. It's not going to hurt. It won't be wrong if you do that with the Casio, but that is more for students with the Texas Instruments. Okay, and then with the Casio, you would still plug in the correct parentheses that are written in purple. So let me see, this formula went on 2 lines. Okay, but you'll kind of get the gist of it here. It's using the fraction button. I put the entire numerator and the entire denominator in, and then you click equals. Okay, and you should get, let me put it on my paper here, you should get $95. Oops. And we're rounding to the nearest cent. If you're putting it in the Texas Instruments, it's going to be a little bit harder for me to show you. But on the top, I have the 7,500 with the parenthesis. And then if I scroll, you can see the entire numerator. To do the fraction bar on the Texas Instruments, when you get to this fraction bar here, you would use the division symbol and then put it in your calculator. Okay, and so I'll take a moment to pause. If you are having any trouble with your calculator, please come to office hours. I have them Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10:30 to 12, or I can meet with you separately. But I want to make sure that you're using your calculator for these problems and not some app or program, because you won't be able to do that on the exam. So you really need to know how to plug these in. Okay, so your payments would be $95 per month. So how much will you pay over the lifetime of the loan? So if you're paying $95 per month, you can set this up as a unit conversion, or we have $95 per month. There's 12 months per year, and our loan term is 10 years. Okay, you don't have to set this up as a unit conversion, but this is what's happening. So we'll take 95 times 12 times 10, and this is 11,400. So you're paying a lot more with interest. What is the total interest you will pay on the loan? So at the end, if you're going to pay 11,400, but the starting balance was 7,500, to get the total interest you pay, anything over that original principal or borrowed amount is interest. So you would take 11,400 minus 7,500 to get 3,900. And then part D of the total amount paid, what percentage is paid towards the principal and what percentage is paid towards the interest. And so for the principal, our principal was 7,500. That's what we started with, divided by 11,400. We're talking about what percent is 7,500 of 11,400. And then this gives you a percent as a decimal, so make sure you times it by 100%. And I'm just going to round to 1 decimal place. So only 65.8% of the payment went towards the principal, the original amount borrowed. And then for interest, we already determined that we paid 3,900 in interest. Divide that by the total amount paid times 100%, or just subtract 100 minus 68.5. And then times 100, so this would be 34.2%. So about a third of the payments actually went towards the interest. Credit cards. So credit cards are different from installment loans in that you are not required to pay off your balance in any specific set of time. Credit card companies will give you a monthly payment amount, but that's typically only enough to cover interest, what they're getting, not what's going towards what you borrowed. And it takes a long time to pay off a credit card if you're only making the minimum payments. The other thing, since we're talking about credit cards, that I'll warn you about is a lot of companies will say that like there's 0% interest for the first 12 months. So you're like, great, let me do it. I don't have to pay any fees. But then when they give you your monthly payment, it won't actually be enough to cover the amount. So for instance, what I'm talking about is, let's say you take out a $10,000 amount. and you put it on a credit card at 0% interest, and they give you 12 months to pay it off, but then they tell you that your monthly payment is only $100. Well, if you take 100 times 12, you will not pay off the $10,000. So a lot of the times, if you want to take advantage of those deals, you have to do the math yourself to make sure you're not going to get charged. Okay, that's not part of your homework. That's just a side note. Credit card. So suppose you have a credit card balance of $2,300 with an annual interest rate of 21%. You decide to pay off your balance over 1 year. How much will you need to pay each month? Assume you are not going to rack up any more debt on the credit card. Okay, so we have P is our balance, our loan term, our Y is equal to 1, APR is 0.21, and each month, so N will be equal to 12. So we use our payment formula again. So we have 2,300 times 0.21 over 12. 1 minus 1 plus 0.21 over 12 to the negative N Y. Okay. So again, in the blue, if you have the Casio, you should be able to put it in just like this. If you have, I'm not using a whiteboard. If you have the Texas Instruments, make sure that you use what's in green, and it's still the monthly payment or the payment formula for credit cards. Okay. So 2,300 times 0.21 divided by 12 divided by 1 minus 1 plus 0.21 divided by 12. Let me double check my answer to what I did earlier. It should be 214.16 each month. I'm going to double check that. Times 0.21 divided by 12. Yep, 214. I had something different written down in my notes. Okay, 16. Okay, so thank you for watching that first part. What we're going to do in the second part, so that this video is not super long, is talk about credit cards, or we're going to specifically talk about mortgages.